Howdy, WROK.
Good morning, everybody. Dave Schmidt along with Matt Nestor and producer Tom Warner. We really ought to have one of those side shows where you get it. We might get in trouble.
Yeah.
But we do have some interesting conversations about situations, and we would get in trouble.
Yeah,
okay.
But it'd be fun to have that sometime.
Yeah.
Have that unfiltered conversation.
That's right. Hey, right now, let's talk some spring sports. The weather may not be nice, and Mother Nature must hate spring sports for some reason. But right now, we're going to talk to one of the most successful softball coaches in the State Line area from Harlem, Jennifer Corwin. And, Coach, good to have you on. Is the weather ever going to change? You got any special ways of doing that for us?
I don't have any special ways, but I sure wish the snow would go away. Waking up to it this morning was not fun.
Hey, how tough is it? I mean, just to build momentum. We were talking earlier during one of our breaks, that some years it seems like it's good and you can get just about all your games in and have practices and whatnot, but then you get a year like this where, you probably had some stuff building there the week before when we seemed to have some nicer weather, and then all of a sudden you get a week like this where it's raining every day and you snow today. And so how tough is it to maybe kind of build some momentum in that kind of environment?
I would have to say that's pretty tough. You get going, you get playing some games, and then you're stuck back inside with the gym floor where, everything's nice and smooth. But for the most part, the kids will try to get outside when it's kind of cold. Not this morning, but, you just try to keep them on top of their mental game, mostly when the snow comes down and all this crappy rain.
Yeah, that's a nice word for it, wasn't it, Jennifer? Crappy rain.
Yeah, the crappy weather right now.
Hey, we were talking also on the show today that I was looking at Twitter the other day, and the Sycamore softball coach came on and said, "Dear IHSA, if you want to switch to fall softball, we'd be happy to do that with you." Any thoughts from you on having fall softball in Illinois?
I would love that. It's usually really nice in August and September, and trying to get these early games in is pretty tough, but if they went fall, I'd be on board with that.
Hey, we look at your team this year, obviously in softball, you got to have good pitching, and you're trying to replace one that was pretty good for you. What are you guys looking at on the pitching side?
We're pretty young. We've got sophomores, Elle Adams and Madeline Fiardo, and, they're maturing well. They're doing a nice job on the mound right now, and I really do expect some big things from them, not only this season, but for the future to come.
With Olivia playing last year, I had the opportunity to watch you guys win the regionals over Hononegah. She was a big part of that team. I mean, she was more than a pitcher. She seemed like a leader out there. That's tough to replace that part of that, too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. She was definitely a leader on the mound. She was probably one of the better defending pitchers I've ever seen, and her bat was just unbelievable, and I know she's doing great things at Rock Valley right now. We've got some other kids that are going to step up and totally take the leadership role under their belt. Bianca Brown is one of them. Kirsten Fudge, she's a nice little player with just the knowledge of the game that's unbelievable. Emily Guskey, we're kind of missing her right now. She's still a leader, but she's out with a ACL injury. But we're hoping to get her back by May, but she's a big leader, too, on and off the field. So we've got a couple kids that have stepped up and are doing a very nice job.
Well, and when you're trying to replace a leader like Olivia, it's got to help because you do have a lot of returning starters back. So I got to imagine that experience and depth, really has to help when you're trying to offset a big loss like that.
Oh, yes, it does. Having all those players coming back, it's been kind of an easy transition, not trying to get a lot of people in to fill those positions because they were already there and took notes of the leadership skills that were put forth ahead of them. So it's not been too bad at all.
As you look at the Nick 10, I know, Hononegah is always good. They got their one player back that missed a lot of last year and stuff like that. When you talk about Hononegah and the rest of the conference, how competitive is it going to be this year once we actually start playing a bunch of games in a row?
I think the conference definitely will be up for grabs. It usually is. I know Hononegah usually squeaks by with them, but they've got Taylor back on the mound, and they're pretty young overall. North has Bailey back on the mound, and they'll be okay. Boylan has Page. I think Freeport and Belvedere are definitely going to win some games this year. I just think the talent's spread out a little bit, so I think it'll be an interesting run this year.
When you get that kind of depth in the conference, how key is that to help prepare you as you get into tournament time? I know you all kind of battle each other in the regional, but it's got to help when you have that depth to try to move on and make a deep run.
Oh, yeah. With the competitive conference we have, it's pretty nice because when you get into postseason play, it really helps you out. It also helps this year that our sectionals kind of divvied up a little bit different, so we might not just see Hononegah at regional championship time. We might be able to see them at sectional championship time. So that's also kind of a nice little factor to get into play some bigger schools.
You know, we talked about the indoor facility down in the suburbs that they play a lot of softball games in. Would you donate a couple of bucks to a project to build one here and have it in Rockford so you guys could play some games when it's like this?
Oh, I'd donate more than a couple bucks. Not millions, but, I'd donate a little bit because, that'd be awesome for all of the players to be able to get in and start playing and play year-round, and I think that would be phenomenal.
And something like that would have to help, I imagine. You mentioned playing all year round, because that's really how you get better, is getting in there, playing, and things like that. And as we said, when you get this kind of weather, it's tough to get out there and get that real in-game experience, which is really key to moving a player forward.
Right. I agree with that completely.
When you look at all this, Jennifer, we were talking about when it does start to happen, does it get a little excitable around your school because you're trying to find officials, you're trying to find people to work at the games, you're trying to get the bus drivers lined up? Does it get to be a little nutsy about that time?
It's just been nutsy so far when you're trying to move games. We talked to Sycamore, and they wanted to move up to noon to try to get it in, and all of a sudden you're calling bus drivers, you're calling umpires, you're calling, making sure that the parents know where they're going, and it gets a little crazy. I don't know how Kim and Kurt in the athletic office handle spring sports because, with everyone, baseball, soccer, track, trying to move things, I'm sure it's just absolutely crazy.
Hey, one thing, we talked about the pitching earlier, but you had a lot of offensive players back. We talked about how is the offense shaping up? I know you have to be able to kind of play that small ball game, but you have some people in there that can hit the ball out too. How's the offense coming together so far early?
I'm very excited for our offense. We're scoring runs every game. I don't know how to describe it. I've got 13 kids, and all of them can go in my nine hitting lineup and do great things. Everyone brings a little bit to the game. I've got most kids that, they can hit the long ball, but they can play the short game, and it's just very exciting from my point of view right now.
How much has the offense been helped by moving that mound back? I think they did that a couple of years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, they did that, I want to say maybe 5 years ago, moved that mound back, and definitely an advantage to the hitters a little bit, but I think, their new bats that they're coming out with, that helps a little bit, and just the pitchers, as they mature, I think that it'll all even out at the end, but right now I think the offense definitely has an advantage over the pitching.
When you look at the next couple of weeks, when do regionals actually start? I mean, are we going to be playing regular season games and then bang, all of a sudden you're playing regional games?
Yep, we take the conference right into it. We have 3 conference games a week all the way till the end of May, and then we start regional play that I think it's the last week of May. I'm not quite sure. My calendar's not in front of me. I'm only up to right now. But you go right into it, and it's kind of nice because you play, practice in between, and go right into regionals, and you just keep moving forward and hope to improve as you go along.
I know if you make a deep enough run, you're almost kind of playing after school's over and things like that. That's something else we were talking about. Has there ever been discussion about maybe moving the season back a little bit where you're almost playing, into June, maybe even early July, but so that way you could get maybe more games in that way?
I've never heard of anybody talking about it that way. I know that Iowa does that. Different states do that. They play different times a year. I've never heard Illinois bring that up, but I'm all back about moving it to fall ball.
Really? Do you think there's a support for that in the state for a lot of teams?
I'm not quite sure. I haven't really talked to too many coaches about it. It's not something that's just brought up, so we just kind of deal with what we have and do the best with everything we got. So.
You talked about the bats making a difference. Last week we had Coach Matt Simpson from Hononegah, and the bats, they've changed the bats in baseball, so the pitcher has a little bit more of control of the game. Is that does that help the bats that you guys now have are coming out that are helping the offense a little bit?
The bats are still regulated so that it's not a complete advantage so the kids don't get hurt, but I picked up a bat the other day and I was just swinging to the outfield and it had a nice little pop to it, and back in the day when I played, we didn't have those kind of bats and you had to put everything you had into it to get it to the outfield, so yeah, there's a definite advantage for some of these hitters with these bats.
I'm old enough, I remember wood bats, Jennifer, so that's pretty old, isn't it?
I think I had a wood bat when I was like 5, maybe.
Yeah. me too, Jennifer. I was about 5 when I got a wood bat, too. Hey, when you look back on your career, you've had a very successful career over there at Harlem. What are some of the things someday when you're sitting back and thinking about your career, what are you going to remember the most about being at Harlem?
The kids. The kids they just have been great. They put a lot of time and effort in, and you take your different groups and just the great things that they've done. When I had Brittany Andrews and we won conference, and then when we won regionals 2 years ago, we won regionals last year. It's just phenomenal to see what the kids can put in, and just the lasting memories with them is just been awesome so far, and I hope to continue those.
And it has changed a lot over the years, hasn't it, softball? For high school, I mean, it just seems like things are really developing a lot the past several years.
Yes, I agree with that. You find a lot more single-sport athletes, and I'm all about a lot of kids playing a lot of sports to be very athletic, but a lot of the kids are just really focused on softball. That's where they put their extra time besides their grades, and so it's just improved a lot. I think a lot of the talent has improved.
Well, Jennifer, thanks for getting up early and talking to us today. My wife told me that next weekend is supposed to be in the 70s. You can play in the 70s, right?
I would love to play in the 70s next week.
That's good. Thanks so much for being on, and good luck to the Huskies the rest of the year. And hopefully the weather's going to be nicer.
Well, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll get out to another game.
Yes, sure we'll try.
All right.
Thanks so much. We've been talking to Jennifer Corwin, the head coach over at Harlem. Last year I had a chance to go to that regional final. That was exciting, folks. You never been to a girls softball game? Woo!
It gets exciting, especially when you get deep in the tournament like that. And runs become scarce and important and things like that. It's a lot of fun to be there.
And Olivia Fleur could throw that ball. I wouldn't even be standing there watching it. And then they throw one of those risers, they call them. And then I'd be drilling myself right into the ground there. Thanks so much for Jennifer being on today. We're going to take a time out. We'll wrap up this edition of the State Line Sports Hour in just a moment here on News Talk 1440 WROK.
You already have your clock ready